I think I didn't want to admit the age that I was. And I think that, I mean, you and I have had this conversation about children, right? So I think for me, because I struggled to have children, I think that accepting that I was at that age meant that this was actually the marker to say that it was over for me to I couldn't it wasn't going to be possible. So that I think that was part of why I didn't want to accept it. Um, yeah, I didn't expect to say that.
Hello, my lovelies. How are you? How are you doing? If you're in the UK, are you managing to stay warm? Goodness me, hasn't it been cold? My name is Karen Arthur, and I am the host of Menopause Whilst Black, the podcast that is committed to sharing the menopausal stories of Black people who experience menopause in the UK, primarily based in the UK. And this is season 5, and this is episode 10, and it's the final episode in this epic season in which we have seen and heard so many wonderful, poignant, funny, interesting stories from the women that I spoke to. Yeah, and this episode is no different. It's an absolute doozy. I'm excited for you to hear what my final guest of season 5 has to say and the wisdom that she has to impart as well. I've just got in from a very, very long journey. I went to see my mother, who's 84 and living up in Oxfordshire, in Banbury in Oxfordshire. And now I've moved to East Sussex. It's a bit of a trek because it's, a train and then the underground and then another train. So I'm glad to get home. It was lovely to be at home at my mum's because she fussed over me, even though really it's my turn to fuss over her. But yeah, it was good to see her, good to give her a hug. She read me poetry. She loves to read poetry out loud. And so I was treated to a lot of poetry when I was there. But I'm home now. I've got a lovely cup of herbal tea. This is hemp tea. I'm new to it. I can't remember the name of the make. But yeah, I'm rambling. Listen, enjoy this episode wherever you are listening to it, and I will speak to you on the other side. Okay, bye. My guest today is beaming. I love it. My guest today is Dr. Zandile Ndlovu. She is the head of consulting of the award-winning HR advisory firm HR Rewired. Their mission is to transform the experiences of employees most impacted by racism, bias, and discrimination. Dr. Zandi's 30-year career to the level of executive includes experience and expertise in belonging, inclusion, and diversity, as well as early career development and executive education, principally within financial services, higher education, and the professional services sector in both the UK and South Africa. Dr. Zandi is also a qualified accountant with an executive MBA. She recently completed her doctorate, which explores the phenomenon of inclusion in order to create organisational, cultural shifts. Welcome, Zandi.
Thank you.
I'm going to first of all say or ask you, how are you?
Oh man, do you know what? I'm good. I'm really, really good. I'm exhausted. It's been an amazing year, and I've spent it reflecting on all the amazing things I've done this year. But we'll talk about that, I'm sure, later in the interview. But yeah, I'm really good. I'm good, thank
Good.
you.
So who are you outside of your titles?
Well, I don't want to add more labels. So I'd say I'm curious. adventurous, joy-seeking, as you know.
I do.
Someone who is constantly looking to learn new things and grow and develop. That's, I'd say, who I am. Outside of a sister, a daughter, a cousin, and all of those things.
Yeah, that's important as well. And people might be able to tell from your surname, but what is your heritage? Where are your parents from?
So I'm the daughter of political activists who left Rhodesia, as it was then, Zimbabwe, as it is now, in the 60s. So they came to the UK after fleeing apartheid in Rhodesia. We lived there we lived here. I was born here in Brighton. My sister was born in Huddersfield. I grew up in London, and then we moved back to Zim for high school. I moved back to the UK. I've lived all over the place. I lived in South Africa for a number of years, but I've always had this feeling of like, where do I belong? And I've stopped asking the question. I finally stopped asking the question, and it's just where I am at the moment is where I belong.
I was going to say, have you found the answer? But you've just answered yourself. Yeah, where you are at the moment is where you belong. That's a lesson for everybody, I think. Sometimes when we move around, or when we're in different places, we can feel at home in places that we don't necessarily expect to. And I think it'll depend on our mindset. It'll depend on how we're feeling at the time. But certainly, yeah, what you said is absolutely perfect. So you're based in Brighton, did you say?
I was born in Brighton, but I'm based in London.
Oh, yeah, yes, I knew that as well.
You did know that, but it's okay. It's all right. I'm just near the Oval, in between the Oval and Vauxhall. Yeah.
Okay. And how old are you?
I'm 52.
Fabulous. So, Zandi,
yes.
who taught you about the menopause?
Do you know what? I've been reflecting on this in preparation for this interview. I was thinking, who taught me? I think I learned about it because it certainly wasn't something we spoke about as a family. My mum passed away when I was 35, and that was way before that conversation was even going to be a thing. And my sister, who's older than me, 5 years older than me, didn't really talk about it either. So when it came time, I didn't believe that what was what was happening.
Okay.
I didn't. I was like 48, and I remember being at this Christmas party and feeling really, really hot. Like I was going to self-combust on the dance floor. And I was like, what the hell is this? No, it can't be. It's definitely not. It's going to pass. And sure enough, like a few days later, I had a couple of episodes like that. It stopped, and it stopped for a year. And I was just like, well, it's not it. I don't really need to know about it. But a year later, pretty much to the day, 2020, it happened again. And I was like, I don't really want to talk to anyone about it. 49 years old. This thing happens in like 50 plus. It doesn't happen now. So let me just sit with it and let it pass. And then July-ish, I think, 2021, I think it was the time there was the Channel 4 menopause that you're in with Davina.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Is that 21? Is that 21?
I think so, yeah. Let's go for that. Yeah, we filmed at the end of 2020. So it was, May 2021 when Sex, Myths and the Menopause came out. And I was in the first sort of 15 minutes of that.
You were. And I was like, oh my God, who's this fabulous black woman talking about the menopause? It must be okay then to talk about it.
That's interesting.
So that's when I first almost acknowledged that it could be a possibility. That that's what I was going through, but I didn't necessarily want to accept that that's what was happening.
Yeah.
To me.
So you admit that you went into full denial mode?
I went into full scale.
Not happening. Have you unpacked? Okay, so what you're talking about is hot flushes, right? You're talking
Yeah.
about you were at a club and you had a hot flush and you were like, what is this? You thought you were going to spontaneously combust, which I love that description. And then a year goes by and nothing else happened. And in all that time, you're having your periods?
Yeah, having my periods, I've always had really light periods, so sometimes it's like a couple of days, sometimes it doesn't come, sometimes does. So I was still having periods.
Yeah.
Yeah, things were just normally abnormal. So it's just,
So your
yeah,
periods were still light. They were still doing what they wanted to do. You were never regular as clockwork.
no.
Right. Okay. So it's just something that kind of came and went. You didn't take much notice of it.
Hmm.
So have you unpacked why you went into denial? Shall we go there?
Should we go there?
What's that about, Zandi?
Oh my word. This
What
is going
is
to be like a
that
therapy session. um, I think I didn't want to admit the age that I was. And I think that, I mean, you and I have had this conversation about children, right? So I think for me, because I struggled to have children, I
about?
think that accepting that I was at that age
Mm,
meant that this was actually the marker to say that it was over for me to I couldn't, it wasn't going to be possible. So that I think that was part of why I didn't want to accept it. Um, Yeah, I didn't expect to say that, but I think in
you did.
asking myself the
No.
question,
You think you're going to say one thing or nothing at all, and something
yeah,
else comes out. It's like your
something
brain
else
has other
comes out.
ideas.
Yeah. But I was also, I mean, so much has happened in the last few years and that we'll talk
Mm,
more about. But I also was going through a divorce.
mm,
In 2021, I decided that I wanted to, it was madness. Again, I didn't know that I was going to make that decision.
yeah,
And I didn't make that connection to the menopause either, or to perimenopause,
yeah,
because obviously there's something physiologically happening, um, and all of these. I don't know, like maybe subconsciously, there's a whole bunch of things that are going on that
yeah,
started me to question myself and who I was and what I was doing, and if I wasn't going to be this person, which was a mother or be in a relationship, then who the F was I? Like, what the fuck?
yeah,
So, yeah, like perimenopause kicked off a whole bunch of things for me, more so in terms of who I am than the symptoms that I have
yeah.
and we're having. Um, yeah.
And I think that I need you to, as unique as we all are, it's also important to understand that this is common. That often we focus on menopause being tied to our age, tied to the things that we've done. Society, in a sense, puts this pressure on people socialized as women to that. Well, the point of view is to have kids. That's that.
Mm,
And so somewhere in the back of our heads, that's what we're always going to do. But the other side to that is that I see perimenopause or menopause as the reckoning. And often we
mm,
fixate on the symptoms, on the hot flushes, on the tingly legs, on, I don't know, dry vaginas, the stuff, the stuff that the outward stuff.
yeah.
I think often the symptoms are around questioning what we're doing here, questioning
Mm,
our lives, questioning the choices that we've made, and the status we have attached to the outward things we have and do, like
mm,
our jobs and being married, or that kind of thing. So, yeah, so I've heard this before, but I
mm,
feel like it's important for people to understand that this is common and recognizing it is important, you know?
mm, mm.
So you weren't ready. You weren't
I
ready for
wasn't ready.
the imagination.
I wasn't ready. Yeah.
How did you? So you went a year, then you had another hot flush, and then you saw the documentary. What did you do then? How did you deal with all these emotions? Because 2021 sounds like a trip. And also remember, we were pandemic-y, weren't we? So we
We were
had
in and out of lockdown. Yeah.
2020 was
Yeah.
wild on several levels,
Yeah.
especially for marginalised people, especially for Black folk. You add on to that you're kind of moving into your perimenopause state, and then you see this program. What happens next?
I see this program. I see you on this program, in particular, because I think it was important for me to make a connection with another Black woman. And I see you talking really freely about it. And I'm like, maybe this is what's going on for me. And a couple of weeks later, I was at a friend's place for the weekend, and she's got an older sister. And it was probably the first time I was talking out loud to other people about menopause. And I said, "Did you see this documentary? It was blah, 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 blah." And then the sister said she hadn't seen it, but she had started using patches.
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh, that's really interesting." That's really interesting. I said, "Can I tell you what happened to me?" So I told her what had happened. My friend was just like quietly listening to the conversation. And then she said, "Oh, it sounds like you're having a hot flush. These, patches would really work. I can give you the name of it was called the Online Menopause Clinic." Because I didn't want to go to a doctor because I was also scared of doing that. And I think you spoke about it a little bit in the documentary, saying how some doctors can be really like anti any kind of HRTs and all of that. And I didn't want to have that battle. So when she gave me that option, I thought, oh, okay, this is something I can do quietly. I can get into my laptop quietly and nobody will know. It won't be recorded on my thing. I don't have to book an appointment. I don't have to have the receptionist shouting out my name. Like, I don't have to do all of that. And then what she did do, she was really sweet. She said, here's a patch. Try it for a few days and see how. I know, right? See how it works. I mean,
Any
in hindsight,
this having palpitations. This does have a happy ending, and anybody listening to this thinking this isn't a good idea, don't try this at home. Do
do
carry
not
on.
try this at home. Well, fortunately for me, so I thought, let me just try, like, see what it feels like, because she said it stays on for 3 days, and then change it. So I put it on, and then I got into the shower, and it just immediately slipped off. I think there's something about there's something.
Sorry, it's not funny, but it is funny. It's like
It is. And then I was like, well, this is not going to work. And then I thought, like, you know how as Black people we oil our skin and we do all, and I was like, this is not going to stay. This is not going to work. Anyway, I feel that it's something that I can try. So I phoned the menopause clinic, got an online appointment, and then they sent me away for blood tests. And I said, look, I don't think the patch is going to work for me. So if there's another option, please, can I have it? And then they subscribed the gels,
yeah.
which bizarrely they say, put on alternate thighs every day. I just like, how do you even remember?
Exactly. They say so. People, you know what? You do what works for you. Try not to do when you remember, do the other thigh. That's it. Or, I mean, some people put it on their bum. Some people put it on the inside of their arm. The thin, at the end of the day, just get it on you.
Yeah.
Which gel were you prescribed?
Sandrina.
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah.
Use that as well. So what's interesting, what you've described, going back a bit, is the thought process. So we're talking about someone who's going through or been through a divorce, is entering perimenopause, doesn't know what on earth is going on, is in the middle of a pandemic or coming through a pandemic, is a Black woman. And on top of all of that stress, you're also hyper thinking in a sense about the reasons you don't want to go to the GP. You're already future worrying around,
Mm.
what will happen, even though you don't necessarily know, but you know it from talking to other people and seeing other things online. That's a lot, Zandi. And I'd love you to just honour that you
Mm.
went through that, and appreciate that that was a lot for that year.
Mm.
Go you. However, so you started using Sandrina. I'm presuming you were also taking a progesterone pill as well.
Yes, yeah. Eugesterone, something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can never get the name right, but that.
Hmm.
What helped? So did that help? Did it work straight away? Was it a miracle cure? Did it take a year?
It
Talk
took
to
a couple of weeks,
Oh wow.
honestly, a couple of weeks, and I was stabilized,
Yeah.
much more stable. Maybe once a week, I might have hot sweats,
Mm.
but not to the extreme that I was having, or the frequency, and then the hot flushes just pretty much disappeared. And I, yeah, I was kicking myself because I thought, why didn't I do this before? But anyway, I was where I needed to be in
Yeah.
that journey. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you have any other symptoms? Do you think, for example, that there were other things that were going on that you now realise, oh, that's helped, or was it just the hot flushes? Do you think?
Memory.
Oh,
So, I mean, get to the top of the stairs and go, why am I here? What was I supposed to get? What was the name of that thing? I still have some of that where I just can't. If there's someone sitting next to me when I was in the office, someone sitting next to me, I'm like, I cannot remember her name. So
it's awful, isn't it?
you
It's
have to go to the
awful.
direct. It's so awful. It's so awful. Um,
Okay, go on.
but I think those were probably the main things, just the
Yeah.
hotness and then that
Yeah.
dryness a little bit, but not. I mean, at that stage, I was like going through a divorce and all of that, so it wasn't a concern.
It wasn't immediately at the top of your
It
list.
wasn't. No, it was not.
It was not. With the forgetfulness, I
Yeah.
am very open and honest about people now. I will say, I know you, but I have forgotten your name. And they will, so you're going to have to tell me. Or when I'm talking to someone else turns up and I want to introduce them and I couldn't tell you what their name is. And I love you, but I've forgotten your name. Can you introduce each other? Do you know what I mean? I think that there are more of us sitting there worrying about not knowing each other. And often
Yeah.
I'll say, I've forgotten your name, what is it? And they'll say, oh, good, I've forgotten yours. So it's fine. We need to be much more open and honest
I
about the
love.
fact that we've forgotten quite a lot of
Yeah.
things.
I
you know,
love that. I love that. I haven't.
it's
Yeah, I must
true.
use that. I must use that.
Yeah, it's more and more people are talking about menopause now. And whilst I'm not an advocate for blaming everything on menopause, let's say, certainly it is okay to be open and honest. Let's just put the shame behind us, because that's wasted energy worrying about whether you know the person's name next to you. But I've done it.
Mm.
I've done it so many times. So you talked about work a little bit. So your work colleagues know that you're menopausal, or knew, or at what point did that come up? And if so, how have they supported you?
So it wasn't something I necessarily shouted about, but in my role where I was before, I've only recently joined HR Rewired.
Mm.
But before then, I was head of belonging, inclusion, diversity. So I encourage women to come together. So they formed a menopause working group,
Great.
formed by menopausal women for menopausal women, and just would arrange talks, etc., and stuff like that. So I was part of those conversations. Some of my other colleagues who I was talking about some of the hot flushes and that with, very few. I remember one of them saying to me, it's a bit like snakes and ladders. because that whole not having a period for a year, you'll go 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and you'll get your period, and you slide all the way back down again and start again.
Yes.
So they were more, the people that I was talking to about it were people who were of, either in menopause or perimenopausal, but there weren't that many women in it's financial services. There weren't that many women at that age or stage.
Right.
A lot of the women were, having children or early career,
Yeah.
but there weren't that many who I could trust to have some of those conversations with.
And was it mixed company? What was the diversity factor?
But gender-wise or everything else?
Everything else.
Financial services, I think you can take a guess.
Well, I just want to be explicit, that's all.
Yeah, no, it was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, the higher up you got, the whiter it got and the more male it got. So
paler and mailer.
Paler.
So you said about your hot flushes, sometimes they come on. Do you know if that's triggered by anything in particular? I wonder.
I actually don't.
By something you eat or drink or?
I've never made, that's a really good question. Yeah.
I ask that because I am on the same as you, Sandrina, HT, hormone therapy, and I don't get hot flushes, but I'm aware of if they do come on, it's alcohol. It's never anything else but alcohol, and it's usually some kind of wine situation. Rum's fine, hallelujah.
And is it immediate or is it like?
No, it's not immediate, but it'll be when if I'm out drinking, I know that I'm going to get a little bit hot. But before I started taking hormone therapy, I could do a countdown. It would be literally, I'd make a conscious decision to have a hot flush because I was going to have a drink. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. But I don't care. I mean, so I'm wondering if that's the case for you. Maybe something to think about next time it happens. What have I just had? What did I just, drink? Whatever.
That's a really good idea. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
You're absolutely welcome. So you didn't consult a doctor. You went straight to, is it the menopause clinic?
Yeah.
And you had an online consultation. Can I ask you said that was, did you go private, did you say?
Yeah.
Can I ask how much that was?
It was £100. It was like something like between an £80 and £100 for the consultation.
Yeah.
And then paying for the prescription.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah. And fortunate that you were able to do that.
And I did that for a year and then I was like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
Let me go to the doctor.
Yeah.
So I then went to my GP and I said, I've been on these for the last year. It seems to be working for me. And he was like, okay, great. And he just signed off. And I was just like, I don't have to pay.
Yeah. I would encourage people to try the GP first because it's
100%.
However, I completely understand, and my worry around menopause care generally is that it doesn't seem equal. There isn't equity across demographics, certainly, and people in lower socio-economic groups don't get to have that opportunity. But if you do have, cash, you can go private, but then go to I know lots of people who've gone private and then gone to their GP and said, well, I've got it now, so just give it me.
Yeah.
And it tends to be easier that way. But I would also encourage, you might be surprised by your GP, and more people, this isn't for you now because you've done it, but people listening, more and more people are more and more GPs are getting training. The awareness is higher. And if you're worried about going to see a GP, bear in mind that if they don't, I want to say give you what you want, but I don't mean that. If you feel that you have a subpar experience, you can go to another doctor, you can see someone else. Or that when you do go to the GP, draft in the help of a friend to come along, or to sit in the waiting room. They are allowed to come into the appointment with you. So we need to learn to advocate for ourselves. And we need to trust ourselves as well. And I think sometimes we hear horror stories all the time about particularly women of colour going to the doctors and being fobbed off, or being told they're too young, or being told what they want, almost gaslighted. And so,
Yeah.
that feeling, and I think that's what led you in the other direction, because who wants to put themselves through that, But yeah, just something to be aware of. Now, I happen to know, Zandi, that you do other things as well. And I suspect that they are helping you with your menopause experience. What else do you do, babe?
And this is all again within the last 3 years.
Okay.
I started running. So I did catch the 5K in the first lockdown, and joined Emancipated Run Crew, which is a crew for Black and brown runners. And we're all kind of in our 40s, 50s, a few young ones, a few older ones, but just wanting to increase representation in running. And we all run out and walk. We've got walkers as well. Run and walk at our own speed, take our time, outpace our race, as one of the runners says. But we're there for each other. We support each other at the beginning. We're there for each other at the end. And it's just been the most incredible thing. I never thought I could run like for a bus, let alone.
Not only do I love that you're saying that, I love it because I know what you did recently to do with running, but also, which you will share, but also that you only started, 3 years ago? And do you know what I mean? And was that literally a case of, I want to do something for my body, or was it a need to reach? How did that come about?
It
'Cause
started.
1 minute you're on the couch and the next minute you're out running, like.
Yeah, and it was lockdown. It was lockdown. We remember that those crazy times we had an hour a day. And and when we were religious, well, I was religious about it. I'd be like, okay, my hour starts now. I need to go. And then just downloaded the app and had Michael Johnson's dulcet tones in my ear, and did it with my sister. My sister and I did it together.
Okay.
And it helps you. I don't know if you've done that app, but it helps you just start moving from walking to running, walk, run a bit. And then the next thing you know, you've done 5Ks. And then my sister found ERC, the Emancipated Run Crew, online. And we joined them. A year later, I did 10K. The next year, which was last year, I did half a marathon. And this year I did London.
My goodness.
I did London Marathon.
I
was 51, did London Marathon.
Big up yourself, Sandy. That's incredible. And I use the Nike running app, and I love run.
It's good.
But what I love about what you're saying is the beauty of the body. That there's something about being able to, first of all, I only started running because I was bored of walking. And I really thought, let me try this. Let's see if these legs work. That's not so bad. And what I find is that being gentle with myself, and not, because when I first started running was actually years ago, but then I fell out of love with it. And then my headphones broke, and I thought, I can't run without some kind of music. And I started to enjoy, the sound of the birds, or pay more attention. And then I didn't do it for ages, and now I use guided runs, who are basically your personal cheerleaders in your ears,
Yeah.
But I'm no marathon runner. I'm no half marathon runner. I am someone who likes to move my body. If you had advice for someone listening to this, who wanted to run but wasn't sure where to start, what would your advice be, just out of interest?
First of all, I say that you are a runner. So I'd reframe that. But I would say start with something like couch to 5.
Mm.
And literally, you can go as slowly as you want to. Like, even the slower, the better. Don't try and push yourself to like 100-meter sprinting, levels. Just a really slow jog. If it starts to get uncomfortable, slow it down even more.
Mm.
The great thing about, and I also used the Nike Run app. So I used it to train for the marathon.
Mm.
And they have those guided runs and non-guided runs. And then they have, people come, what's his name from Headspace comes and does some meditative runs and stuff like that.
Love those.
They're great.
Yeah.
And they vary the runs so you can do, intervals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's taking one day at a time.
Mm. Mm.
Like just getting up, putting your shoes on, deciding, what run you're going to do and just doing it and not really thinking. I never really thought about until like a few weeks before. I was like panicking and then I was like, oh my God, it's coming up now. But it's amazing how your body adjusts and you have to fuel yourself and hydrate and do all of those things.
Mm.
But like the next thing you know, you're running 20, 25, 30, 32.
Wow.
Like, how? And it's not easy.
You mean
like,
you? Because I ain't.
If you were to do, which I signed up for again madly, but I'm doing it again.
Wow, amazing. And didn't you just come back from America or something?
I did. We went to
Tell us about
Atlanta.
that.
Oh my gosh. So the Run Crew ERC, this is the second year we've gone abroad with running. So it's a runcation, as they call it.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. But this run that we want to do in Atlanta is called The Race. And it's organized. It's one of the biggest Black organized and a running event in Atlanta. It's in and around. They run around the historically Black areas of Atlanta.
Right.
It's just, a friend of mine said it was just one big Black hug being in Atlanta. Oh my word.
I love that. I saw some of your pictures on Instagram and then I ran over to Emancipated Run Crew's, Instagram as well. And I just thought, wow, that looks like fun. I have is it a marathon though? Is it like the whole?
That was a half.
Oh, okay.
And there was also like a 5K option. So there's usually different options.
Yeah.
But you're going all the way to Atlanta, you may as well just. And there were hills. They didn't tell us about that. So so you kind of run a bit and then you walk a bit and run a bit.
Yeah.
By mile 1, because they had to start early in the morning because it was hot.
Yeah.
By mile 1, which is probably at 5:30, there was a woman on the street with Prosecco's. And we were like, shall we?
My kind of run.
This is it. It's not serious. It doesn't have to be. There are people who do take it quite seriously, but I was like, I'm here. I'm going to enjoy every moment. And there's murals and art everywhere, and just took pictures, ran the race. Yeah. Partied hard afterwards. The great thing about running is that you get to eat, right?
Right.
So,
I'm amazed at the amount of food I put away, honestly. But I love the description of, just one big Black hug. I kind of love that. That should be in their advertising if it isn't already, certainly. Now, Zandi, I'm going to throw a curveball in because I didn't necessarily put this in our questions. Don't worry, your face. It's just about so I interviewed a friend of yours, Karen, last week, another Karen, different Karen. And
Karen, yes.
Yes, Karen Charles. So both you and Karen came on the Joy Retreat with me.
I did
in May this year. And if it's okay, I'd love you to answer just a couple of questions around that. And it's actually what brought you to the Joy Retreat, and the second one is what did you get out of it?
Oh man. So it's another crazy story of what brought me there. My sister, again, I don't know how she finds things, but she did. She found this invitation to the Joy Retreat. a year before, when the first year when I decided to get divorced, I wanted to gift myself each year a an experience by myself. So if I could go to a spa or whatever I could afford at the time. And then she said, "Oh, there's something for you to gift yourself." And all I saw was the joy retreat. I stopped reading. I was like, "I'm in." I didn't know. It's like, that's all I saw. I didn't read the details.
So wait,
I
all
was
that copy I agonised over.
the copy that you agonized. I didn't read it. I was like, I mean, I know we've said the story before. I didn't know who Karen Arthur was. I was just like, let me just. This sounds amazing. I want to be with other Black women. Let me go. Um,
Had you
so
been to Barbados before?
I hadn't been to Barbados before.
Okay.
I hadn't really been to a Caribbean island before. And I remember getting on the plane. Getting on the plane, and you'd been sending messages, and then people started posting pictures. And I was like, where the hell am I going? I don't know who these people are. I don't know what they do. I don't know who this Karen Arthur is. I'm going to Barbados. I've never been. I don't know anybody.
So you took a leap of faith. That's what you did.
I took a huge leap of faith. And what was the what was the second part of the question? Because that
I
would probably
suppose
help.
it's about. So you took this leap of faith. You got on a plane, basically with strangers. I'm laughing because I'd made this WhatsApp group a couple of days beforehand, so I could keep in touch with everybody, and we could keep in touch with each other. And so the selfies. The selfies started to come in, and that's what Zandie's referring to. Seeing all these pictures of these people and thinking, "What am I doing? Where am I going? Who is this person?" So the second part to that, I suppose I'm asking you what you got, what it did
Oh
for
my
you.
gosh.
Was it worth it? I know, I kind of know the answer, but I
Oh my
love
word.
other
It
people to
was,
hear it as well. I'm not going to lie.
yeah, I mean, was it worth it? It's just, I would go back again tomorrow to that. It was the most incredible, like I said, a gift to myself to be amongst Black women who are also going through whatever they're, but it's not even about menopause, really. It's just, it's connecting with these incredible Black women who have these stories that you can connect to so quickly and easily. And it's beyond description, actually, with the experience that I had. It was life changing for
Wow.
me. And to know that I, at 50, at that stage was 51, that was the first time in my entire life
Yeah.
that I'd ever had that kind of an experience. I mean, let's not even talk about where we stayed, the beauty of where we stayed, and the people that we met, and the yoga, the meditation, all the treats in between, the mango in the sea. I'll just say that without giving too much away. But I've probably given a lot away now, haven't I? But anyway,
No, it's fine.
I think it was. Um, And being in that place, I remember one of the days when we were together just looking out on the sea, and I had quite an emotional response to something that I had kept so buried so deep within me, that I was just truly grateful that I had people around me to support me in going through something like that, because it was a place where
Yeah.
I could do that. Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps
Yeah.
because I know exactly what you're talking about, and I remember it was intuitive because I had a routine, I had a schedule, obviously. I didn't completely wing it, but I was very aware that I wanted everybody to get what they wanted out of the Joy Retreat Barbados, and not everybody wants the same thing. And I had said that if you wanted to come with us and just sleep for 7 days, that was entirely up to you. But I feel like when you are in a safe space and being around Black women, it doesn't mean that we're all the same, but we have very similar connecting experiences, often to do with racism. Being in a safe space can allow so much healing. And I remember a few people, when you were definitely one of them, saying, I didn't expect to say that. Now and then, something, you said it on this podcast, something would slip out. It's just like it was meant to be. You were in the right place for you at that time. And I'm grateful that you came, because lifelong friendship, you're never getting me. So thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking a leap of faith.
Thank you. You know, you said something just then about you did have some sort of structure, and I and I appreciate what you're saying, because I think it was important not to have too much of a structure, because there is something about being intuitive and going with what is required, and you had more than all the tools to be able to support us all going through. I mean, there was 10 of us plus you. Who were all going through our individual transformations and transitions and all of that. And you held us all so, so beautifully and knew what to do. And you can't do that with a structured piece of paper with too much of a timetable. You need to be able to respond.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I was frantic, weeks before, days before, thinking, it needs to have this and it needs to have that. And then I sat with it. Often my experience is that when I'm silent and I stop thinking, that's when the answer comes in. And literally, possibly as close as 2 weeks before, I made a decision about the menu. I made a decision about not adding more things. And on the retreat, I loved getting to know the different personalities and therefore what people needed, which is how we ended up doing the head wrap workshop, because that wasn't anywhere,
In the plan.
So thank you for rolling with that questioning, by the way.
That's all right. Oh my gosh, I would have mentioned it anyway.
I asked Karen, and then I said, I don't know whether to tell Zandi or not.
No. I would, because it's been part of my journey. Like, it would have come up, and I'm so jealous of everybody who gets to go on it.
You should come again.
I will.
So, Zandi, so we know that you run, we know that you are on a journey. I know, like we all are, but let's just roll with that. You've just started fairly new to this new job with this wonderful firm, and you've also just got your doctorate. Come on, Dr. Zandi, pick up yourself. But back to the human, back to little Zandi. Do you have a routine, and would you care to share it if you do?
I do have a routine that I try and stick to, just like my daily routine. Is that what you mean? So I get up, I try and get up at like 6, and I get a cup of tea and I journal. I've always been a journaler since I was little. I remember, actually, I don't know why this story's popping into my head, but one of my first journals, I must have been like 13 or something, and I had written that me and so held hands and it was bliss. Right? And my mother never forgot that, because she read it, right?
Oh.
she read it anyway. That aside, I've always liked to write. So it's a habit that I have that I continue to do. So I just journal, and then I try and do maybe 10 minutes of meditation. I use Headspace because it's quite a nice guided one and different things to do. And then I might go for a run.
Every day?
Not every day. I won't run every day. I run 3 times a week.
Okay.
But if I'm not running, maybe I'll do yoga or something just to move my body because I work at home.
Yeah.
So I need to get out or do something. Otherwise, you can spend the whole day sitting in
100%.
laptop.
I've been there. I know that yesterday it rained all day. I wasn't going anywhere. Today the sun was glorious, and I knew I was going to go out and do something. I hadn't done a run for a month because I'd had a bit of an injury. And so I thought, let me go. I always do this thing where I get dressed and I go, well, let me go for a walk and see what happens. And I ended up doing a walk-run situation and feeling
Nice.
it.
Nice.
And that's I'm over needing to have a certain time or a certain. I just want to get out there and run until I don't want to run anymore. And then all things.
And you're at the sea. You've got a beautiful place to run.
View is incredible. I get to run. I live in East Sussex. I get to run by the seaside. The view is, and I feel grateful when I'm actually running. I also feel like I'm going to die, but I do feel grateful as well. And I think that the scenery obviously has a lot to do with that. So yeah. Anyway, we're not talking about me. So we're back to you. How do you celebrate yourself?
Do you know what I started to do? In fact, I'm looking at them now. I buy flowers.
Ooh.
£3 flowers from Tesco every couple of weeks.
Brilliant.
It's just a nice little thing to do. I can't be waiting for someone to buy me flowers because I'll be waiting a long time.
And you can, if you want to, you can get subscriptions. It's more expensive, obviously, but you can get subscriptions to flowers, can't you? Where you can do 12 months and send flowers to someone. Why not send them to yourself? My thing is when I buy something, if there's a gift option, it's for me, but I will send myself a little card or a letter.
That's so nice.
I'm calling in more traveling next year. So I spent some money on the Away sale, the luggage, which I think is lovely. Please sponsor me. And
what is it?
It's Away. The company is called Away, and they do luggage. That's all they do. And it's beautiful stuff. It works, and they have the spinny ones with 4 wheels and compartments all going on. Anyway, bought myself one, and then I forgot that I'd written myself a card, and when it came, it said something like, well done for moving on to YouTube and doing season 5 of Menopause Whilst Black. You rock. And I was reading it, I was like, I do! Is that you write yourself a little note as well. If you're ordering anything online or if you're, sending yourself flowers, send yourself a card as well.
That is such a good thing.
You'll always forget that you've done it. And then it's like,
what a nice surprise, yeah.
Yeah. So have you done a celebration for getting your doctorate, Dr. Zandi?
I haven't yet. Still sinking in. I've had lots of alcohol. Well, maybe now that you say it, actually, I really need to check that out, whether there is a connection. I'll be really annoyed if there is. I'll be really annoyed. But then, like you say, to kind of like accept it, right? But no, not yet. I think when graduation will be in June next year, so I'll probably...
Oh, well, let us know. We'll all roll up, all the joy seekers.
The joy seekers need to turn up in numbers. Amazing.
That would be brilliant.
Yes. You can come to my new-ish pad.
Yes. Brilliant. I look forward to it. Which tune instantly makes you want to dance?
Do you know what? Anything in the 80s, it's just like, this is such a difficult question. Anything in 80s soul.
80s soul.
Yeah.
Now I
80
need to be more
soul.
specific. I'm not going through a decade of 80 soul, am I?
Do you remember? You're like a circle going round,
Yes.
round, and yeah. You've
Who?
got the touch. Magic touch. It's called magic touch.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Sorry, we're singing. So I'm sorry because I know I have no voice, but you sounded okay, Zandi. Magic touch. I'm going to look that up. Thank you. And last question. What's the one piece of advice you would give to any black woman listening to us now?
I didn't see that question.
I'm really glad. What's worked for you? It might be a piece of life advice. It might be specific to menopause. Yeah.
the one thing I started to do, which I guess was around menopause time, was just asking myself, what do I want? And it could be as simple as waking up in the morning and going, what do I want to do now? Do I want to sleep some more? Do I want to get up and have some breakfast? Just keep tapping into yourself to ask what you want. That's it.
That's perfect. That's perfect. What do I want? I also have the Spice Girls in my head. I'm sorry to ruin it. I'm really sorry.
Which one? Oh no.
What do I really, really want? Tell me what you want. I've ruined it. I'm so sorry.
You've totally ruined it.
Oh no.
No, you haven't.
Oh dear. We might cut that out. We might leave it in. Who knows?
Edit.
Zandi, what a pleasure.
Oh,
What
what fun. What
Thank
fun.
you. I know this was another leap of faith coming on this podcast. Andy's, not used to being on podcasts. Who is? Well, I am, but that's not what I mean. And it was a big deal to come and talk to me. And I really, really appreciate you taking your time and then saying, you know what, let's do this. And more to the point, I'm sure that people listening will find bits of your story that will resonate heavily with them. And that's the most important thing. And that's why we do it. So thank you, Zandi.
Thank you for asking me. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yay! Part 2 then. Dr. Zandile, no less. No less. How wonderful. Gosh, it was so nice to catch up with her, actually, because as you will have gathered from our conversation, she was one of the 10 Black women who joined us, took a leap of faith and joined us on the Joy Retreat Barbados in May last year now. Although we recorded this in 2023, I'm recording this intro in 2024, which is why that makes sense, I hope. Interesting that she started running, in 2020 and has now done a marathon and signed up for another one. And I think that's just a testament not only to her, but also just a reminder that it's important to find the exercise that we love. If running is not your thing, that is absolutely fine. Find an exercise that works for you. Move your body as regularly as you are able to. And that is good enough for your body. You know yourself, hopefully better than anybody else. So, and Zandi has clearly found, Dr. Zandi has clearly found hers. I don't know whether she likes me calling her doctor, but I'm just going to keep saying doctor, doctor, doctor all the time because I'm so proud of her. And I'm looking forward to celebrating, hopefully with her when she graduates in June. And I loved her the way she celebrates herself too. That buying yourself flowers on a regular basis, whether you do it as a subscription. I know that I think it's Bloom. I think most online flower shops do subscriptions. Worth looking into. But also buying yourself, flowers from the petrol station or from the supermarket, or, celebrate ourselves. And as I said before, when I buy things for myself, if there's a gift option, I choose it. And then I forget about it. And then when the thing that I've ordered arrives, it's a wonderful reminder of how far I've come. It's kind of nice, Sometimes we don't get celebrated enough by others, but we can always, and we should always make time to celebrate ourselves. So there will be a joy retreat in 2025. You will be one of the first people to know. I will start a wait list, and I will start banging on about it and inviting 10 more Black women in to join me in Barbados next year now. We're going to take a little break now. It's been an exciting series, exciting season, but it's also been a lot of work. So my editor, our team, Erin and Kareem, we're going to take a break and we will come back in a few weeks' time with a brand new season of Menopause Whilst Black. In the meantime, I want to thank you. Oh gosh, I want to thank all of you who are listening, people who have found us via Spotify, via Amazon, Audible, wherever you found us. But I want to, a special shout out to those of you who've made comments, who've written reviews and found us on YouTube and shared us with your friends and with your wider community, because honestly, there are still people out there who are floundering, who are worried, who are scared and don't know what's going on. And so those are the ears we need to get to. And so you have helped us and are helping us and continue to help us to do so. So share away. Go back and listen to episode 1. They've changed a lot since then. Episode 1, season 1. Yeah, I guess that's it. Feels a bit weird. Thank you so much. Look after yourself. Like, subscribe, do all the things. You can find me on Instagram and on Facebook as Menopause Whilst Black. I have a brand new website almost ready to launch, and that will be a hub for people to find out more about menopause, to check if they're not sure that they're perimenopausal, and just to find more links to articles and ways that they can work with me and join me on the Joy Retreat Barbados 2025 as well. So have the most wonderful day, evening, week. Please rest yourselves. Please look after yourself. Drink your water. Let me drink my tea. Wear your SPF. And I'll see you for season 6. Take care. Bye.